You're watching the Tesla Life with your host, Mark Coughlin!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Life number 272, 21st of September 2022. How is everybody out there doing? Thank you so much for joining us today. Well, without any big fanfare, we've got our two regular co-hosts. We have Mr. Casey Green joining us from the DC area. How are you today, sir?
Doing all right. I tried to fill in for Patrick last week, and I think I did okay.
Exactly. But there was no doubt that Patrick was on the show based on that beginning that just happened a moment ago.
Exactly.
Patrick, thanks so much for joining us. Patrick, how are things on the West Coast?
They are good. Hello out there, Tesla Nation. I know we normally do shout outs at the end of the show, but I'm going to put in one right here. This shout out goes out to the Kilowatt Podcast. So it's a podcast about Tesla and all things EV, much like this. And the host, his name is Bodie. He's a firefighter in Arizona. He has Tesla solar, and he's a reservation holder for the Cybertruck. But more importantly, he checked out my blog, liked the story on there about how Tesla Powerwalls have Stormwatch mode, which has more recently become Firewatch mode, at least around here. And he thought that was a great story, talked about it on his podcast. And so I happened to hear it and thought I'd give him a shout out.
Hey, fantastic.
Yeah.
Spread those stories around. Always good to hear.
Yeah, it was nice that I'm not the only one plugging my own stories.
Plug your stories. I plug your stories on Sundays.
This is true. You do. Yes, you do. Thank you very much.
Very good. I'll have to go back in the archives and listen to that one. So very good. Well, let's get to a bunch of stories that we got lined up for this week. And here's the first one, all about video games. Elon was prompted through Twitter about Steam. And for those of you who don't know, Steam is an online gaming platform that can be used through many different types of hardware, basically over the internet. So you don't need the actual gaming console, as you do with many systems, like PS4 or Xbox or whatever. This is a system that will allow you to receive the games just over the internet and play them on the fly as they're happening. But they're really advanced games. They're not those simple ones like Pong that you've seen run over someone's website. This is a system that many use for their gaming platform. And Elon in the past had indicated that was it best for Tesla to continue to look for ways to integrate single titles into the car platform, or was it better to maybe work with someone like Steam and integrate a whole catalog of games that can be used as Steam rolls them out? So
Steamroll.
Yeah. So we got. I didn't even see that one coming, man. So this obviously has been on the minds of many game players that would like to see more games coming to Tesla. And Elon just commented on it briefly that he has been testing it on his drives recently for his vehicle. So the Steam option's still happening. They're working on it. Engineers at Tesla, as we know, are wearing many different hats. And one of the big oversized hats they're all wearing right now, of course, is FSD Beta. But this is another option that they have been working on. So why do you keep going like this, Casey? You saying stop? Stop.
No, I'm grabbing the autofocus because it keeps focusing on the middle distance.
Ah, okay. All right. I thought I got 5 points on that one.
Well, it likes hands. It really likes hands. You would think it'd be trained on faces, but it likes hands.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, Steam is great. I use it mostly as a game library because I don't do much online gaming, but I do keep a friends list on there, and I use it across Mac and PC and mobile. But I don't know if I use it on my Xbox yet. But on that same vein, you talked about game streaming. A couple folks have used the Xbox Cloud on their Teslas, and they said depending on what network you're attached to, it can be performant or it can be something that you don't want to do head-to-head games on, depending on how you're connected.
Yeah.
Right.
Generally, it's pretty tolerant, but the problem with that is if you're on a marginal connection in the Tesla, everything in your Tesla goes through the Tesla VPN. So you're marginal to California, back to wherever you are, back to the Xbox Cloud. So
that's going to be a difficult hurdle to overcome, because there is going to be some, depending on what car it is, what network it's connected to at that particular moment in time, there's going to be some lagging issues, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But of course, if it's a single player or just players in the car game, that should not be a problem. But if you're trying to integrate with somebody else on the outside, then that could be a problem. So
yes. Speaking of the Cuphead and Cat's Quest games were just updated in the firmware. Not for us beta folks, but for normal people.
I also found out recently that some of us that did receive Cuphead, it's on my car, but some of the newer release cars didn't get Cuphead.
Oh,
It's not there.
Probably because of the different chip.
It's I know someone that got an LFP Standard Range Plus, did not come with Cuphead, so not really sure as to why that would be, but that's the first I heard of it just last week. So
it's not even very graphically intensive, so it's not like, oh well, the Model S and X come with a graphics card, but the Model Y and 3 don't, for the new AMD Ryzen systems. But that's weird.
Yeah, just thought I'd mention that.
I've got another out of band announcement. So did we talk about the Starlink high performance last week?
No.
Okay, so you can now, when you sign up for Starlink now, you can get a choice instead of $500, and in your first month, you can say $2,500 and your first month, and you get the Starlink for Business or Starlink for Maritime antenna, the big, not really a squishy, but the big square one. It's 20 by 22, something like that, and it's rated for IP56, so it actually can do water jets, not just splashes. Pretty cool.
So that's an option when you're ordering the system.
When you sign up, yeah. There's mixed results whether or not you can convert your existing account to that. Myself and some other people had some success, but a lot of other people were told no. So I don't know if they're asking for the wrong thing or if they just got the wrong support rep. Because you would think that Starlink would just want some money. That's kind of the business model.
Next story on to this is kind of interesting. There was a story, and this one's quoted from Teslarati, is that there was an invite meeting only in San Francisco where head of investor relations Martin Viecha was okay. We'll go with that.
That's how they announce it anyway.
He had indicated that, among other things, at Tesla, one of the quoted items was that for the first time that he can remember, we can access all the supply we need for both businesses. So this is the first time that he can remember. And in his talk here, he was talking about the next 3 to 5 years. Is what they were the time period they were discussing. Good. So this is a plus. Here we are coming to the end. Well, fourth quarter of 2022. We knew that 2022, according to Elon, at the beginning of the year, this was going to be a build period for batteries. It was going to be make sure that we could get the resources to build the cars, and we could roll them out quicker and quicker, so that was not going to be a problem. Apparently, Martin here is echoing that here we are near the end of this year, and that has come to fruition. And for the next time period, again, he was speaking about 5 years, that they believe that they can cover both businesses, being Tesla and Tesla Energy. So, and we've also heard about the power walls now being started to lifted, so you don't need to buy Tesla solar in order to buy a power wall. So that's another indication that this may be correct, that the supply is now in place and Tesla can start opening the doors and selling more. So production of cars and power walls is certainly going to lead to a rosy number of quarters for Tesla, if that is the case, if they're starting to really open up the throttle on this.
I was just reading an article about how Tesla and LG, what used to be known as LG Chem, which is now called LG Energy, how they bought the entire 5-year production from this lithium production facility that's making the lithium slurry, and the two of them have just bought everything. Like, it's going to run for like 3 to 5 years, and nobody else can buy in now.
And all output is going to the two companies.
Right.
Yeah, and that's not a surprise because
good for everybody.
It's good for those who locked it in. It may not be good for those that realize they do not have the proper amount of supply at this time.
It's good for the mine, Tesla, LG, and all their customers. But yeah, everybody else is screwed.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle from some of these other EV makers that have just put in orders and expected them to be fulfilled in a certain amount of time. Some of these existing contracts are going to put a dent in that, and some are not going to get what they need, because it's not just that this is growing at a flat rate, exponentially growing. We're seeing jumps, number of percentage points in a quarter for EV sales and demand. So
requirements for EV sales.
This is something that is definitely in flux. And the amounts that are being ordered are increasing dramatically, and there's only so much supply out there. You know, there's people that are ramping towards this, but if people are ramping, there's still others that are scrambling, trying to get up to a certain value amount, and some of them are just are going to be short on that.
I was thinking that even if LG and Tesla had split the output 50-50, Tesla would still get more than 50% of it, because they're also an LG customer.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I've got two comments.
Go ahead.
The first one, so Martin is Tesla's head of investor relations, and these investment banks get this behind the scenes information all the time, and it's not just Tesla, it's all companies, but that really pisses me off.
Yes,
it's a publicly traded company, which means this should be a public event. This should have been streamed live. They should not be able to, these bankers should not be able to get this insider information.
Right.
And we only have this because it leaked. And I shouldn't call it insider information because that has a specific legal term, and that's not what I meant. But
it's second class. Yeah. It's higher tier.
Right, right. Yeah. Tesla's my largest single investment. And so do I care what they're doing? Absolutely. And yes, I don't have the millions of shares that some investment bankers do, but in my little world, it's a huge chunk. So if it's a publicly traded company, there should be publicly accessible information, just like the investor calls. Those are all streamed. They're public. Everybody has equal access to it. The bankers get to ask the questions, and luckily Tesla allows Say to also, but they're not required to do that by any means. But we all get the same info.
Because what if it had been bad information? Like, you might have decided that, hey, I want to get some at a discount. Or if it was good information, you could be like, hey, I need to, anything I might have been doing with the taxes, I might have just kind of put that on pause for a minute.
Right. And what's more typical is that when you listen to these investor calls, then you read the investor notes that come out of it, you're like, they didn't understand at all.
Yes.
And so retail investors often have an advantage when you're someone who uses the product and understand it in a way that's not just about what spreadsheet cell number does it go into, but what does it really mean? So I just hate being left out. That's my rant.
Yeah. And to David's question about what it does to the open market.
Oh, yeah. That was the second point. I said I had two. So one of the cool things that's been happening is if you look at the battery market today, like 75% of it is the nickel cobalt NMC chemistry, and only about 25% of it is the iron ferrophosphate LFPs. But the LFPs, every year batteries get better 5 to 7%, and that is true for the high-end nickel cadmium batteries, nickel cobalt batteries, as well as for the LFPs. So, what happened? I lost you guys. Oh, you just made me speak. Okay, sorry.
I didn't want to put the text all over your face if I could help it.
Oh, okay. All right. So now LFPs have improved where they can be used, and we're seeing them in the standard range plus vehicles now, where before LFPs were not good for that. They are projected to become over half the market later in this decade. So there's now a long-range semi-truck, not from Tesla, that has LFPs. Any vehicle that's less than 300 miles is soon going to be able to use LFPs. So that opens up, and iron is cheap, and lithium is all over the place. It's not mining it, it's refining it. That's really the problem. And there's new methods for doing refining that are happening. So I think we're seeing a spike now as a bunch of the legacy OEMs wake up and realize they need batteries. And that's going to be short-lived, though. As more of them need it, the prices will go up. That'll draw in more investment. We'll have a step change in the capacity of the entire system. That'll go back to an equilibrium, and then we'll continue the price trend going down. If you look at battery prices over the last 10 years, so let's go from 2011 to 2021, it's down about 88%. And right now, batteries are the big, expensive part of an EV is the battery. Well, if we've dropped 88% in 10 years, if we do that again, they're going to be cheaper than gas cars. And it's going to happen within the next decade. And then why would anybody buy a gas car? It costs more to buy. It costs more to fuel. Forget it. It pollutes, and its resale value is going to tank in 2035 when several states won't allow you to sell them. It's so obvious how things are going to go. And we've been saying this for a long time. The rest of the world's finally catching on and going, oh, wow, things might actually not be the same as they've always been.
Yeah. I was watching one of the Chinese competitors to Tesla. They went with a high nickel 4680 cell, but they didn't go cobalt free. So that was interesting to me.
Yeah.
Different formula.
Yeah, with nickel, cobalt free is difficult. With lead, it's easy. Not lead, but iron is easy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I did not mean to say lead. With iron, it's easy. It's also easy with lead, but that's not the point.
then you go sulfur.
Yes.
Our next story takes us over to Berlin and the future expansion of Gigafactory Berlin. Tesla has had on the docket now for a little while to discuss about expansion plans for the current plant. And this is kind of interesting that local government committee was supposed to address some of these and actually perform a vote on permits and such about this expansion plan. And Tesla was coming up to the meeting, and for some reason, one of the meeting heads announced that more study had to be performed, and the vote segment of this was going to be removed from the meeting schedule. And that would be later scheduled for a later time for them to go on that particular issue. So,
unless you don't want a gigafactory in so many words, and I'd like to see your competing countries win the contract.
It really, you look at this and you look at the employment that Tesla has brought to this area of Germany. You look at how they have brought environmental responsibility to the plan and how they've stuck to it, and the water reduction that they have actually improved and stuck to their plan. And you kind of wonder, what are these people doing? It seems that the government in that particular area of Germany has many different factors pulling on them. And it sounds like maybe people on those boards or committees are being pulled in different directions because this just seems like classic stall tactic. You know, kind of reminds me of Texas, where they
Yes.
only meet once every 2 years, and decided they weren't even going to address the issue of selling cars in Texas. So this is
I wonder.
it's speculation, but
Yeah.
it's very strange, especially now that Tesla's gone already this far. The employment's ramping up, the number of cars being produced is ramping up. You would think Germany would be all behind this, especially with the situation they are with energy. They want to diverse from fossil fuels as quickly as they can.
Especially
It would
since
just make sense
where they get their fossil fuels from.
moving people to electrified transportation to split some of that off would be critical.
I'm wondering if this is why BMW or whoever was the other German automaker that was initially looking at the site. I wonder if that's actually why they abandoned it, not the 2008 crisis and finances, but because they saw that this area was just not on board with jobs.
Maybe that's an issue, that they're too divided internally, and that spurs problems with getting things done in an efficient manner.
They've shown that they reduced their initial plans when they did the Giga Berlin, and then they exceeded everything as far as what they said they would do, and then like environmental requirements, like you mentioned, they use less water than they said they were going to do. They've got a good track record. I don't understand this resistance, as if they're these big liars.
Yeah.
Ahead,
this
Patrick,
kind of red tape. Yeah, this kind of red tape and bureaucracy is exactly the reason that even though Giga Berlin had a 6-month head start, it came down to a photo finish with Giga Texas.
I think the only reason they finished first is because somebody's feelings would have been hurt if it got passed by Texas.
Yes, they called Elon and said, "Please do us a favor and don't open Texas yet. Give us just a couple more weeks, please."
Oh yeah, Texas still needs a coat of paint. Yeah, that's it. You got until the paint dries, buddy.
Right. Yes.
Hockey Day's got a point. It's smaller too.
Yeah. I guess Mark's already won the bet. I got to call my operatives and tell them to stop slowing him down.
Patrick forgot to call off the dogs. That's the problem. Didn't even consider that as an option. Yes. Very good. Very good. Off to another point in the world. And this is, again, pointing about Tesla expanding the superchargers out to non-Tesla vehicles. The country of Iceland has converted all their superchargers to be able to receive other vehicles to charge them. Now, all is 8. So it's not a huge amount of supercharger stations. It's 8 actual locations now are being switched over so that they can charge up other vehicles. But again, this is another case of this moving forward. We're waiting for the big shoe to drop, and that, of course, is North America, which, of course, we're all concerned with. We live here, but that's another country that has moved over, like the Netherlands, like parts of France and parts of Germany, that have gone this route. So
we've got 4 coming. We've got 4 coming for sure. Out in California, of all places.
And here's another bit of breaking news that kind of connects to this, is that it was just announced a few minutes ago today,
right before the show.
Yeah, is that CCS Adapt Charger is now available in the United States now. $250
for most people.
Well, it's available to anybody who wants to buy it.
Well,
it's
like
a question of whether or not it works with your vehicle.
Right, I signed in and it said your car's too old. We'll see you next year.
Right, and Tesla is warning people then that are ordering it to make sure that you've checked your vehicle's status to indicate that it can handle CCS charging.
They strong arm you into
before
doing
you
it.
buy the adapter.
I tried to buy it and they're like, sign in. I'm like, all right, and they're like, yeah, your car's too old. But it will be next year. 2018 September build.
And that's still too old, huh?
Well, they have to change the charge controller board to one that can speak in power line, vehicle to grid, basically. And then not vehicle grid charging. That's just the protocol they're
Yes,
using for CCS.
Right.
and after my car gains the chip to use that protocol, then I can use the adapter.
And that's the same for my Model 3.
Yours,
An early
yes.
Model 3 does not work. So, and you can check that right on your car. You can go right in and look at the
more info where you get all your different chips and boards and levels.
Information screen. It says right on it as to whether it's CCS will work or not.
Yeah, it'll say CCS enabled, or it'll say CCS not enabled, or there won't be any mention of CCS at all. But if it says enabled, you're good. And that's what when you sign in, that's what's checking.
And if there's no mention at all, you're probably driving a Chevy Bolt.
Driving a big old Chevy Bolt. That's it. But that's already equipped with CCS. So
there you go.
It doesn't need the adapter, right?
So I'm wondering if the European team that's like, hey, let's open these things up, says, all right, I'm ready for 8 more, and then somebody on the team said, how about all of Iceland?
I wonder how many non-Tesla EVs are in Iceland. Is it like 5, and this is more than enough?
There might be. That's a good point. Yeah, there's a total of 5 EVs on the island that are not Tesla. Yeah,
I'll say not as many as Norway. I'll give them that.
So they're not going to get the complaint that the non-Teslas are plugging up all the charging stations.
Well, why do you think the Californian
Even if all 5 of them went to one charging station, it wouldn't matter.
But why do you think that California started by building 4 brand new massive chargers? That way they're not taken away from what already exists. And then when all the Tesla owners try to descend upon the new site, at least half of them will still be available to the Tesla owners.
Yeah,
Yes.
And we're still waiting for some of those people out in Yuma County to start sending us some pictures, because that's where we suspect the version 4 supercharger with this mysterious adapter will be first to be installed. So if you're out in that area, drop by, check them out, because should be the new taller superchargers, should be the new connector. Probably some good things. I'm sure there's a swarm of drones over it right now. They're just waiting for daylight.
I suspect that some of our more passive aggressive contrarian owners will attempt to use their adapter on the Tesla Supercharger just to get some of those spots back. The question is, what has Tesla done to stop that?
Okay, so I'm going to get the CCS adapter, then I'm going to go to the Tesla station, but I'm going to pick the non-Tesla.
It's got four plugs in tandem. I'm only getting 23 kilowatts, but I'm loving it.
It allegedly can handle up to 250 kilowatts, although some folks have said they've only seen 180. Somebody brought to my attention that part of that might be because they're using it on Electrify America and other stations that don't have. They have 400 volts like Tesla does, but they don't have the same number of amps like Tesla has. Where they do high powers, they would rather go 800 volts, which Tesla doesn't do. And so when you plug in, you don't see the full 250 because at your voltage, it can't push 250. It needs to up the voltage. And your car doesn't want to take that, so it doesn't want to fry. So it says, nah, just give me what you can of the 400.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Next, off to Laguna Seca.
Yeah.
Casey, what's going on there?
Well, let's get a little photo on the screen here. Let's see.
Speaking of supercharging.
Yeah, more superchargers. Huh, the fan behind me just kicked on. All right, so Laguna Seca, they've had superchargers for a minute now. They started out with ones that were powered by generators, and that was a big fuss. Then they got a V1, a V2. Now those V2s have been replaced with a V3. Oh, they also had a palletized one in between the generator and the first permanent one, and now they have a V3 supercharger. Look at that. And then we've got Dark Helmet right here from Unplugged Performance. Is this one Dark Helmet or is this a different one?
I don't know. That's a nice looking ride.
It is. But this right here is the front diffuser. It's quite large. At first, I thought it was like a tray to put ice in, like to help cool the car down while supercharging. But no, that's not what it's for. It's for air, and that's pretty cool.
And this new type of supercharger, this must be version 5 because it looks like they swapped tires at this particular one.
Full service supercharging.
Exactly. Yeah. You call in ahead of time. I have a flat, and they go, "Oh, we know what your car's riding. Well, your tire will be waiting, and we'll charge you while you're here."
You get one of those NASCAR pit crews that run out. Zoom, 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 zoom. You're getting supercharged while it's happening.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you get a new set of rubber, and you can't figure out why am I spending $800 to do a supercharge.
Right?
It's because you got 4 new tires.
Or
in
brand new
lightning
tires
time.
while you were there. David asked if the 250 was high for the CCS adapter. So I first want to point out that the CHAdeMO adapter was more than double that.
Yes.
and it didn't come with any extra stuff like we're assuming that the retrofit for us will be free like it was in Europe, but it might not be. Just because. And then Hockey Day pointed out that it's not sold out yet, and I'm wondering if getting enough stock was why they waited so long, or maybe enough people were at work that they didn't slam the site yet. We'll see.
Well, I don't know why you'd want one of these. The Tesla.
I would want one because of projects I've got coming up, but other people, other than pricing, I don't know why anybody else would want one. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, so the Tesla network is just, the supercharger network is so good that it's just plug and go, and you don't have to have this app or that app or busted stations or all the other problems that CCS has. I just have no interest in this.
I will say though that when you're traveling and the other networks do a free supercharge weekend instead of Tesla, it would be nice to be able to take advantage of that. Even if you have to fuss about with an app, that could save you $100 on a nice trip. Okay,
yeah. So then you're halfway to recouping your cost. I have free supercharging for life, so
right, same.
I'm not worried about that.
But with my upcoming project, I could end up in between a supercharger and like there might be a mall with a Walmart or something that's got If the area you live and travel in, CCS is more convenient, I get it, and so they'll sell a few, but it's not like, oh my god, they've sold out. This isn't something every Tesla owner needs to have. It's just not. Right.
No, the vast majority will never probably even enter the thought of getting one. It just doesn't make any sense. A
downgrade, effectively. Oh, you want to use a worse charging network? Okay, we'll let you.
Yeah. You want to see worse? I'll show you CHAdeMO. So I've used my CHAdeMO adapter since they got a supercharger in Charleston. I've never used my CHAdeMO adapter again, other than get it updated at Tesla. So
that's exactly my point.
I'll be selling it once I get the retrofit for the CCS on mine. If anybody wants a CHAdeMO adapter.
Yes, indeed.
It's $240, and then they'll cover your shipping.
$249. Yeah.
They'll pay for your CCS.
I only got 20 uses out of it. I didn't get my use out of it yet.
It's effectively new. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You better get going, Casey, if you want to get your use out of it, man.
At 50 kilowatts? I ain't got time for 50 kilowatts. They say it can do 50. I've only ever got 38 of the ones I use. Probably the same situation, amps into the station. So.
Mm-hmm.
Next story I wanted to touch upon was Giga Texas. What's going on there, Patrick?
Okay, so Giga Texas has made a great milestone. So this comes to us from Drive Tesla Canada. It's titled Giga Texas Production Milestone 10,000 Model Ys. So every time at one of these plants that Tesla has, when they hit 10,000, they take that 10,000th vehicle, they get all the employees that help make it, and they get a big photo. So I don't know if you're sharing that now, Mark.
Yep.
If you could.
Yep.
So, okay, cool. So Giga Texas officially opened on April 7th. And so now they've gotten to this 10,000 milestone. It took them 4 months to the point where they could hit 1,000 Model Ys per week. And this is just great news. They're ramping, and now we're seeing 10,000. And of course, their production rate is now higher than it's ever been during their ramp. It won't be long until we're seeing 100,000, number 100,000 come out of there. So I thought this was pretty cool, and we're sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how long did Berlin take to get here?
I don't know that one. I was
good question.
I remember the party picture. I just don't remember how long it took.
Yeah, I remember the photo. I think it was outside. But I don't recall when that date was.
I do want to point out one thing that's different. We know that Model Ys are being made in Fremont and Shanghai and Berlin. but Texas is the only one making them with the structural battery pack and 4680 cells.
Sale. Because Berlin's making it for practice.
Okay. Not for reals yet.
Not for reals. So who do you think is next?
The struggle is real.
Right? Who do you think is next? Shanghai?
Patrick is still upset that I won that bet. You can't tell though because he hides it so well.
Yep, it's true.
I win the bet and I'm still suffering for it. I don't know why, but okay. All right.
So who do we think is
the
next? Is
harder road, man.
it going to be Giga Shanghai or Giga Next? Because I doubt that they're going to stop Fremont to put structural in. And since Berlin's practicing, we know it's just a matter of time.
Yes, yeah, I would say Berlin's next.
I mean, but after them, would it be Shanghai or would it be Giga Next? Because I'm wondering if Shanghai is kind of like Fremont, where they don't really want to mess with the formula too much.
Knowing Shanghai, they'll build another one next door to it.
It's all going to depend on how well it works in Texas.
Yeah.
Like it's really going to, because the ramp is happening. We know that they've had delays with the 4680.
You're right.
But it's going to be a question of how well it starts to integrate, because if it does integrate well, I think Shanghai will get it.
Yeah.
Because if they've got a clear path to move it in, I think that based on its other successes, I think it would be very easy to integrate it if everything goes as planned.
And they can A/B test it because Austin actually builds both. They build 2170s and 4680s, so they can actually just run them side by side and be like, "Hey, this line's putting out 6 times as many cars as this line." I'm curious. I'm also curious if number 10,000 was a structural or classic.
Yeah, they didn't mention that, did they?
They did not.
We all want to know.
Yeah.
What we really want to know is what the split would be in those 10,000 vehicles. Is it 60-40? Is it 80-20?
I don't even think it's that many, because remember, was it last month?
It's 4680. No, that's
but remember, it wasn't just last month or the month before they had finally got the parts in place to actually build the 2170s in Texas. So I doubt they were a significant portion of this number.
Yeah,
good point.
But as they go to that 100,000 number, hopefully they're a lot larger percentage.
Hopefully at least 20,000.
Exactly. Next on the docket we have tonight, we've got Giga Nevada introducing something that's going to help employees. And Patrick was going to talk about this as well.
Right. So I already mentioned at the top of the show how StoreWatch has been used for Firewatch. Well, that's true along the whole West Coast. And some of that smoke from these wildfires is blowing over to Nevada. And so Giga Nevada has taken some steps to reduce the amount of smoke and air pollution that gets into their factory. It's not good for the workers, and I'm sure nobody wants a bunch of smoke, dust, ash particles on their products either. So this article is right. It's from Tasmania, and I've seen it in a couple different places. And the first thing I have to say is that all of these sites missed the chance to use the headline that Giga Nevada enables biohazard defense mode. I mean, come on, it's right there. It's right there. So what they did was in their HVAC system, they upgraded their filters to MERV 13. And so typical industrial factories are going to be using like MERV 9 or 10. And 13 is better filtering. When you get to HEPA filters, I think it's at 17. So it's not quite to HEPA filter level, which of course would have been the criticism if some headline said that, but it would have been like, nuh-uh. But still funny. And the other thing they did was recirculate the air, which of course makes sense. You don't want to take in outside air. Yeah, exactly. So, since the fires are a big problem, and in fact, I don't know if you can see it, I've got an air filter right over there. We bought all new air filters for the house this year because this has happened every summer. At the late summer like this, things dry out, and then eventually something happens, and then fires spark up, and we've got like 10 of them, a dozen of them going on just within the state of Oregon at various spots, and they're up and down the West Coast, and it's sad that this has become an annual thing.
It's interesting that where I'm placed in the country, I don't think I've ever smelt smoke besides maybe an industrial fire that's happened at a site that's been put out, quickly. But I understand that the wind can shift at any time in the West Coast, and places that have been unaffected become affected quickly. And if you don't have the proper filtration system, it certainly can be a detriment to your air supply. It can be a health issue,
Yes.
depending on your health and your breathing capabilities. It can even be a deadly issue in some cases.
Yes.
So it's,
So like in most places, you check the weather report in the morning to see if you're going to go and do and whatever. Well, here you also check the air quality report, because if the air quality drops, you don't want to be outdoors. So soccer games that day get canceled, or whatever sporting events. You just don't, you don't go for your morning jog if the air is so thick the sun is blocked out. I mean, you have to pay attention to it.
Speaking of the air quality weather report, one of my smart displays, it's been showing like for half the summer, it's been just yellow. Like, you probably don't want to do anything outside today. Like, oh, but now that you guys are mentioning this, I'm connecting it with all the fires you guys have been having all year. And I was reading an article this morning about how the Atlantic hurricane season is about 50% behind schedule for this year. I'm not complaining, although it sounded like the author was complaining that we could get a slight break for a year. But they expected a change with the La Nina weather pattern, but they didn't expect it to be like this. And they're mentioning how, the climate change has really changed all the extreme weather events all around. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, many things are not going to schedule as they used to. That is for sure. But we will have to see if this type of Tesla doing this switch, if other industries are going to follow. I would imagine they have to, because people start to look at, are they putting their employees at risk by not doing it? And it can be a dicey situation. So I'm imagining that many of them will start to upgrade with this type of filtering system.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Next, Casey, off to Shanghai. What's going on at Giga Shanghai?
So Shanghai is trying to make sure that David wins this bet. They are at 1.1 to 1.2 million vehicles per year now. Tesla has just completed an expansion where they invested $170 million, or 1.2 billion won, and they had expected it to be done in April, but we've had some sort of world events all through the last 2 years, so you'll have to forgive them for being a couple months late on this. And so now they're looking at about 90,000 Model 3s and Model Ys per month, and from January to August, that came to be 400 vehicles, and is almost past the 484,000 vehicles delivered for all of 2021. So I think they'll shoot past that, and this is exciting.
Yeah, this is the official notification. We know that this has been worked on for some time, but
the official only mentioned how much money they put in and about what they're doing monthly. It's unofficial, the 1.1 to 1.2 million vehicles.
I just meant that they're officially saying it's done.
Right.
Yeah,
I just didn't want
the project is complete. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's again another project undertaken, and that started when the COVID lockdown happened in Shanghai, where Tesla said, you know what, we may as well use some of the staff that we have available to us, and let's ramp things up while the plant is partially shut down, and when we come out of this, we'll be able to gain numbers on the other side of it. So
you got to pay them anyway, and if the line's already off, it makes it a lot easier to connect extra connections to it if it's already off.
Yeah, yeah. And at Shanghai again, it's been amazing the amount that they have been able to push out of that plant and continue to upgrade. Like we were talking about just previously about the 4680 line that maybe could come there. I could see that fitting in real easy by them saying, "Oh, we're going to open up another plant across the street, and it's going to be the 4680 line." And that'll be up and
toggle switch on the
3.5 days.
Right?
They're ready to start doing something. So
they already have a toggle switch on the machine. All they gotta do is drop off the Idra presses. They're ready to go.
Could be. It's an amazing spot. Just amazing. We should have probably juggled this one around a little bit better when we were talking about smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Patrick, what's going on in Monterey? Or was this yours, Casey? I forget.
I think this one's Casey's.
It was. So last year we saw a mega pack catch fire during testing while they were preparing to bring it online. And we had another one. This one was in California, and the safety systems worked. It contained itself to one mega pack. It didn't spread to the adjacent modules or the support equipment. So fire department was able to come in, and PG&E didn't lose too much of their investment there. So,
looking at this photo, I was just thinking that since these mega packs are delivered on tractor truck beds anyways, maybe they should just keep them on the beds, and if anything breaks out, you could just
drive them away,
kind of move away from each other like a big Tetris game, as they just give the other guy that's flaming a bit of space.
Have them on the auto shears, cut the connections, and just drive themselves into the European style dunk tank.
So PG&E obviously is getting some teething pains here as they're trying to ramp up one of their biggest storage facilities, and one that recently came online, right?
Yeah. The test fire was at their facility too, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it's something that they're going to obviously.
They're also the ones who set California on fire.
Going, come on, this is the second one. What are we doing here? Like,
it's very on brand for PG&E. They're the ones who set California on fire last time. So
they got the power lines. Now they got the mega packs. They got to step their game up here, figure out what's going on, and put some things in place to block this guy. Never heard about a fire in South Australia, have we?
We have.
They're not talking about their mega packs catching on fire there. So
last year they had one.
Okay.
Yeah. This one happened at 1 a.m, so it wasn't hot. I mean, it was because it was on fire, but it wasn't the exterior temperature that did it.
Yeah.
I'm just amazed. You look at how close those are,
and
that it didn't catch one of the neighbors on fire there. That's an impressive safety system.
Well, I mean, they've had a lot of experience. When you looked at the what they call the power packs, the old models, they did a very impressive. Because remember, the power packs were always installed 3 or 4 in a row, just like the mega packs kind of are right here. And they did a firefighter demo, and I was impressed at how much energy was in there and how well the fire department was able to get the practice unit back under control, and how well it did. Like, it only went up; it didn't go left and right to the other units, which was cool.
Right. Just think about how many total cells are in a big installation like that. One of them is going to have a problem. So these fires, they're going to happen occasionally, and it happens with other big energy systems as well. There was the LG one that did this as well. It wasn't just Tesla that lit on fire. Yeah, exactly. And so having ways to contain and deal with that and expecting it and not just assuming it won't happen, that's some important engineering.
You want to prepare, not put your head in the sand.
Exactly.
Yeah. Unless you're putting the battery in the sand.
That's the or it's one of those new sand batteries, right?
Well, that would
they always have their heads in the sand. There.
You put the sand battery in the sand. Will that put the fire out?
Yeah,
or make it worse.
For everyone.
Next, Patrick's got a story about the legacy automakers really should be concerned.
That is right.
Watch their backs.
Yeah. So
Something's a brewing.
Tesla has a lot of people that are wanting their vehicles. There are some pretty long wait times for some of them. And this is especially interesting considering right now they are not eligible in the US for the tax incentives. So what do you think is going to happen next year when they are eligible for tax incentives? It doesn't take a genius to figure out that more people might be looking to buy these vehicles. But that doesn't stop their competition from saying, oh, no, Tesla can't keep up. There's going to be market. Well, we just talked about how Texas is ramping and they're building faster than they ever have. Giga Shanghai just got a big expansion completed. And so these wait times that Tesla has, they're going to come down. And the cool thing about that is once the wait times are down, Tesla can drop their prices as well. And we've heard hints from Musk about this multiple times. In one of the calls, he even said, frankly, those prices are at embarrassing levels. So we talked about the reason that they're high. When the wait times are long, their visibility to what their actual prices are going to be for their supplies and the supply chains, the markets can be volatile. And so you don't know what inflation is going to do and other commodities. So you can't offer a low price. You have to assume the worst and offer that price. Otherwise, if things go bad, you're selling at a loss. So shorter wait times means better pricing visibility, means lower prices for everybody. And that is going to happen. And when it does, Tesla already has the majority of the electric vehicle market. And the fact that that could become even more is mind-boggling. When there's so many new competitors coming out, and yet Tesla continues to dominate. We just talked about how they have the commodity pipeline in place because this is what they do. They're not distracted by their legacy ICE vehicle line or whatever other thing. They're focused on, we want to ramp as fast as we can for electric vehicles. And if the worst thing that could happen, and I mean that in a, well, I'll explain what, is if there really is some demand softening, they can reduce their prices. They have levers they can pull. They can actually go back to having the $35,000 Model 3. Right now, there's no reason for them to have that because people are willing to pay the much higher prices for them. So why shouldn't they make better vehicles with more features and make more profit on it?
They're also worldwide, and
yes.
in some markets the only difference is for compliance is software. In other markets, they may have to change the headlights out. We're not talking like whole cars here most of the time, and so they've got options to get stuff where they need to. We saw that in other places where when our incentives were already gone, but some other countries were running out. All of a sudden, that country started getting a lot more cars delivered than typical, and other places got less. And then you saw the people who don't know how stuff works in the news talking about, see, demand is softening because they have less in the U.S. and less in Australia and less in the U.K. Yeah, because Norway is about to run out of the incentive. So now Norway got double they normally got. Or that's an example. I don't know if that was the exact case, but that's exactly how it goes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, there are demand levers they can pull. They're not pulling any of them. In fact, they're unpulling them, some by jacking up the prices.
Raising up the prices, taking stuff out of the car. Oh, nobody uses lumbar support.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought this was really interesting. The rest of the market needs to stop just tiptoeing into this and needs to go in all or nothing, and not just doing compliance cars, not just doing a little test market. Oh, we're going to sell 1,000 of these or 10,000. You need to be thinking in millions, and they're not. They're just not, and they're leaving it. They're giving Tesla even more and more runway.
Yeah, which as a competitor, you got to figure out that at some point you got to start catching up, because of course it's not like when you start ramping yours up after 2 or 3 years, it's not like Tesla's going to be sitting doing nothing
where they are today,
their thumbs waiting for 2 or 3 years. It's like they're going to continue to innovate. They're going to be continuing to push forward with their agenda, with their efficiency, with their modifications, and you're not completely catching them. You're just
Yeah.
kind of lagging behind. And in some cases, you could be lagging behind even further,
Right.
depending on what their plans are.
It seems that a lot of their competitors and the people who write about the auto industry, they are used to this stagnation that we've had because, we reached a kind of
Right.
equilibrium after 100 years. And so they're not used to the idea of growth. They're like, oh, yeah, so-and-so is going to build 20,000 EVs in 5 years. They're going to totally beat Tesla. It's like, wait, do you realize that Tesla's just getting started, right? 20 million isn't enough. you gotta exceed them. You gotta meet, skate to where the puck is going. And so far, we've seen only really 3 competitors seriously address them. You've got Volkswagen, who knows what's going to happen with their new CEO, Ford,
Right.
which is making moves, but again, they've got that problem of their target is a little short-sighted because of their ideas that the market is stable. And then you've got another competitor that just kind of lies and says they're in the lead, even though they haven't done anything. We won't name any names, but they led, from the back.
You did it, Mary.
and then others you might get an executive or two, or they won't put down the press when the press says, "Oh yeah, this is a Tesla killer." They're like, "Yeah, this is a good car."
I think that's a good point, Casey, with the stagnation. A lot of the present legacy automakers have lived in that way too long, and they're expecting things not to change. Although I have to say, from being on the outside and watching what's been going on, I can't see why they can't see this wave actually lapping up on their shores. Like I don't understand why they're not seeing the writing on the wall.
For the past 60 years, it's always been, this many cars sell in the market every year. What they don't understand is that their chunk of that is going away, and there may be some extras with it being EVs, but they've got to keep doing what they've always done. Go ahead.
Talk to VW, talk to Mercedes, talk to Audi. They saw their luxury brand drop off, and it was pushed all the way over to Tesla. It's maybe some of the legacy automakers now that the Detroit 3, maybe they're thinking, well, we're not mostly luxury cars anyways. We're medium of the road. But you know what? All it takes is a new offering.
Yes.
All it takes is a slightly different price point, and all it takes is people starting to realize that, well, I don't really care how much it costs because it's saving me so much more in other ways.
Right. Or I can use it twice as long, so I can spend a little bit more than I normally would.
Exactly. It becomes a paradigm shift for the consumer, saying, hey, the model's changed. It's no longer that I look at an 8-year return on the vehicle. These cars are going to last 15, 20 years. Guess what? I can double it up. So.
But they have another problem. Is they've been through this before with the Japanese cars came in. Well, now you've got Model Next, and you've got, again, with the Japanese and Korean cars. They're all compelling, and they're all priced, or the Model Next and the Korean cars, Japanese cars are priced where people can afford them. It's like they learned nothing from the last time this happened with the gas crisis, and the Japanese and other imports came in and showed them how it's done, and here we go again.
Piece of the market away.
Yeah.
Well, I would assume that happened in the 70s, and that there are very few people in the auto industry today that's 50 years ago, right? I mean, normal careers are 30 or 40 years, so there's not a lot of. Most of them have come in after that, so they didn't see that. They've had a lot of their career, the people who are at the top, in the rearview mirror, and things were always stable then. So they just are discounting this change.
And it'll go away in 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. Or so what? We can put batteries in there in electric motors. We've got electric motors. They drive our windshield wipers. We know how to do that.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Exactly. So a lot of this stuff's in flux, and a lot of these auto execs are going to pay with not only their companies, but their own jobs, I would imagine, as time goes along. So
Hockey Day points out the Cybertruck as well. I didn't even think about that one. It's like I was just thinking of the cheap small cars. And like even if the individual workers don't remember, like the institutional knowledge, it should have been built in. Like the people who went through the Great Depression, a lot of them came out as savers. So there should be a little bit of like company culture that was built in about not getting run over by the Japanese again. But it appears that that's gone.
Yeah.
The Cybertruck is a good point because Ford and GM, those are their cash cows. That's what keeps.
They don't even make cars anymore. They just make trucks.
Yeah, right. That's it's Mach-E, but yeah, that's not their cash cow. So when the Cybertruck disrupts the truck market, that's going to be a huge blow to those legacy car companies.
Yeah.
I can't even call them car companies.
Truck companies.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's what they really are.
Yeah. Well, with that, I think that wraps up this week. Pretty good week. Casey, any shout-outs for the group today?
Yeah, so on Sundays over at youtube.com/Casey Green, I've got a show that's similar to this, but it's all the market, a little out of the bounds, and kind of a loosey-goosey timeline. So if you want to check that out, you can go to youtube.com/Casey Green. Tune in on Sundays at about 1:10 Eastern. I did actually make another pre-recorded video, but it wasn't about the car. It was a product review that the company asked me to make, and I didn't want it on my channel, so I just put it where they wanted it, and the whole editing software had changed from the last time I made an edited video, so that was fun. It's for the better, but they moved all my G's, and I had to find all the buttons again. That was fun. But that's what I got.
Very good, very good. If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up and press that subscribe button if you haven't. It's going to help out the channel. Hockey Day mentioned something. Jay Leno's going to be on, or Elon's going to be on Jay Leno tonight at 10 p.m. I guess that would be on CNBC for the Rocket special, I believe. So if you're interested in that, look for that in your local listings. Patrick, any shout-outs from you?
Yes. So AI Day is coming. AI Day 2022 is coming up. We'll be covering that on here after that event. I don't have the exact date, but anyway, it's coming soon. Yes. And all right, yeah, Casey can look that up for us. And I'll give my usual shout-outs. I write at carswithcords.net. I just posted my 6-year review. My Model X is now 6 years, and apparently I've been doing it wrong this whole time, according to some Facebook group that was discussing my story, because I don't drive enough. I have less than 50,000 miles on there, and for a 6-year-old vehicle, that's just wrong. Also, I count the electricity that goes into the vehicle, so I have it separately metered, and that's what I'm using for my watt hours per mile. And because if you have a gas car and you run the air conditioning, it's going to make your MPG worse. And that's still counted as part of your MPG. Even if you just sit in the driveway and run the AC, you're burning gas. And then when you do the math on this tank and those miles, but apparently I'm wrong for doing that because it gives me a number that's like twice what the vehicle is typically rated at. And so I'm getting 600 watt hours per mile. And they're like, no, it should be like 300. But again, I'm
300 is what I get.
right. And so 300 is more typical. Yeah, you talked about it. And but again, I'm just looking at how many miles did I drive and how much energy did I put into the vehicle. And I'm not looking at how much went into drivetrain and how much ran my accessories and whatever. And so anyway, if you want to get in there and comment on that, check it out at carswithcords.net. You can tell me I'm wrong. You can tell me they're wrong. Whatever you want to do.
I mean, that's how you do it with a gas car. You measure, I'll put this much gas in, and then that's how much I had to put in to get back where I was. So
exactly. Yes.
Makes sense.
Total cost of ownership.
Right. Yeah. The vehicle exists to get me from A to B. And I also want to get there, comfortably with the AC on, and sometimes towing a camper, or sometimes with the bike rack, or whatever else. And yeah.
What would you say your mission is with all this driving?
Yes. This whole thing is documenting my mission to have a future free from fossil fuels.
There it is. There it is.
Thanks. And I'm also with the Oregon. Oh yeah. My last
go ahead, Patrick.
I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org, and we are planning our National Drive Electric Week event. So go check that out, National Drive Electric Week, and find an event near you.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you all for joining us. We want to give a shout out to Lee Moon for the music we use at the beginning and end bumpers of the show. And again, if you haven't already, thumbs up and have yourselves a great week. We'll talk to you next week and get together and find out what's happening in the Tesla life.
Turns out my DVR was already set for Jay Leno, just already.
Nice.
I guess from last time
Positive.
Elon was there.
Just
Cybertruck.
negative.
Do it. Thank you, Lee Moon.